Today on the menu, we are having some good old pinto beans. So if you want to learn how to make this, keep watching. So I'm starting out here by sorting my beans. If you have not cooked pinto beans before, then just know that this can be a very lengthy process, but it is truly a labor of love to cook pinto beans. So when you pick through your beans, you want to grab a small handful at a time and visually inspect every single bean, because if you do not, this is what will go into your pot. And look, I consider these the rejects. We are not going to do this today, but we will do this today, and these beans are perfect and they are ready to be cooked. So next, you want to rinse your beans under running water, just like you see here. Now, I recommend if you have a colander or a strainer, use it, okay? You want all of that dirty water to run down the sink. So you want to soak your beans overnight. You can soak them for 8 to 12 hours, or you can do 24. I normally soak my beans for 24 hours, okay? The soaking process is very important because you want to degas your beans and you don't want to have a stomach ache and be farting all over the house every time you eat beans. So here are the ingredients that I'm going to use for this recipe: paprika, cumin, black pepper, salt, oil, a yellow onion, garlic, and in this container here with the blue lid, I have some smoked meat, smoked turkey to be exact. And this is going to add so much flavor to the pinto beans. So if you've never tried your beans with smoked turkey, you should definitely throw some of that in there. And here are the beans that I let soak. So now we're gonna go back to the sink again. You wanna make sure that you rinse your beans. Yes, rinse them yet again. And if you notice here, the amount of beans have increased. I still have the same number of beans, but the volume of the beans have increased because the beans have gotten larger. So anytime you soak beans, the beans will absorb the water and they're going to swell. So I have more beans now. So you want to make sure that you wash and rinse your beans after you soak them so that the water that the beans soaked in is completely off of the beans, okay? That water contains those sugars, which is what causes gas. So that's the whole purpose in soaking the beans, is to degas the beans. And so because I let my beans soak for 24 hours, some of the beans have split in half. So I'm gonna go ahead and just quickly go through my pot, and I like to take those out. This is optional. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. So here's one final look at the amount of beans that I'll be cooking, and I'm going to be making 2 large pots of pinto beans. All right, so I'm starting out with my large pot here. So I'm going to add in my smoked meat, 1, 2, just like that. I'm going to add in my pinto beans. Okay, so this is the amount that I have. Now I'm going to add in some more. I'm going to add in this other cup here. So I did not weigh out the beans on my scale, but based on the measuring cup, this is approximately 10 cups of soaked pinto beans. Now I normally would just take my pot to the sink and I would fill it up with water so that it covers 2 inches above the beans, but because I am showing you guys how to make these pinto beans, I did go ahead and measure out the water. So here I have 4 cups measured out of water. So I'm going to add this water to the pinto beans. Okay, and this is another 4 cups. But I'm going to add enough, and I'm going to stop so that the water reaches about 2 inches above the pinto beans. That's how my mama taught me. That's how my mama taught me how to do it. That's how my mama taught me how to. My mama taught me how to make pinto beans. My mama taught me this, and her mama taught her. I use 13 cups of water. This is 1 tablespoon of oil, and this is 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm going to start with 1 tablespoon of salt. So I'm going to use half of this yellow onion and 6 garlic cloves, all roughly chopped, for my pot of pinto beans. This is going to give those beans more flavor, so I recommend you go ahead and use an onion and garlic. Make sure your stove is on high heat. Bring your beans to a boil and then decrease your heat. You can also add a lid to the pot to speed up the process. And this is what your water will look like after about 10 to 15 minutes of cooking. So I always like to skim that foamy stuff out of the water, but it really does not matter if you left that in there. It'll eventually absorb into the water and it will not affect the taste of your beans. And I'm not totally sure, but I think that could be the stuff that gives you gas. So I just like to take that out just to be on the safe side, okay? At this point here, I recommend that when you make pinto beans, you can build the flavor to what you like. You can add just a little seasoning at a time. Remember, you're gonna cook the beans for like up to 3 hours. So at this point here, my beans have been cooking for 30 minutes. And once I had the flavor just right, I'm gonna decrease the heat, cover it with the lid, and just let it slowly cook. So I will leave all the measurements down below in my description box. So now the beans have been cooking for just 2 hours. This is what the beans is looking like so far. This is after cooking for 2 hours. So take a look at the pot liquor. Not only is it important that your pinto beans taste good, but they should look good as well. And I'm gonna add my grandmother's secret ingredient that she always used in her pinto beans. I'm putting in just enough tomato sauce to deepen that reddish color and just make my pot liquor look so glorious and just so amazing. You only want to use just enough tomato sauce. Don't worry, you will not taste that flavor. So just use enough to enhance the color. And this is what my beans look like so far. And everything was so spot on. So I'm adding in some sugar, and this is gonna balance everything out. Remember, when you add in your sugar and your other seasonings, make sure that you are tasting your pot liquor. So I'm showing you what my pot is looking like. Right now it's been cooking for about 2.5 hours. The meat has fallen off the bone. You want to add in just a little green onions if you like. And then you want to lightly stir the pot. Remember, anytime that you stir your pot, make sure that you are delicate with the spoon and the beans, because you don't want to smash up those beans, okay? And this is what my pinto beans look like so far. This was so good. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and plate this up, because where I come from, this is how we do it. We eat pinto beans, cornbread, and we sprinkle some sugar on top. So I hope that you guys will give this recipe a try. Come back and let me know what you think, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. My grandmama made the best pinto beans ever. And to this day, I still have not been able to duplicate her recipe. No matter how hard I try, my beans can never taste as good as hers, okay? Something about her beans. She put so much love into everything that she cooked. She was the best cook. The best cook.